Good morning and welcome to the 2021 Tennessee Achieves update for Roane County. My name's Krissy DeAlejandro, and although I wish I was in Roane County with all of you, I'm happy to be here in a virtual capacity to have a conversation with, I see many of my longtime friends on here. Hey, Alan, from Roane County. To really dig into the progress that we've made over the last several years across the state, but then we will specifically dig into Roane County specific numbers. So this is meant to be a conversation, so please feel free to interrupt with any questions, any thoughts, asking for clarification. Again, not meant to be a presentation, but more of a conversation on how we continue to make progress with student achievement in the higher education space. So thank you all for joining me, and we are going to jump right in. I think it's always really important to remind all our stakeholders, because it's confusing, that Tennessee Achieves is a separate nonprofit. We are not a state entity, although we do partner with the state to ensure that students are meeting critical milestones as related to the Tennessee Promise Scholarship. We did launch in Knox County in 2008, Roane County specifically in 2011. So we've been working there for a decade now, which is incredibly exciting. But it's hard for me to still wrap my brain around the fact that what started with 493 applicants in Knox County in 2008 now translates into nearly 450,000 students served across the state of Tennessee under the Tennessee Achieves umbrella, and nearly 72,000 volunteer mentors recruited and trained during that same period of time. As a reminder, as I said, we do partner with the state to report milestones to Tennessee Promise Scholarship progress, but we're so much more than a last dollar scholarship. We continue to believe that our volunteer mentoring program is the heart of our work. Having someone in your corner is game-changing for many of our students, specifically those who are, like me, the first in their family to go to college. And so we continue to believe that while other states and communities have tried to lift up a model similar to Tennessee Achieves, they really miss the magic when they do not incorporate the localness that is our volunteer mentoring program. We also very much believe in a culture of giving back. And so we'd love to cultivate that sense of giving within our students. And it has been a pillar of our organization since we launched in 2008. Summer programs has also been a staple at Tennessee Achieves since we launched the program statewide in 2012. So when we went from Knox Achieves to Tennessee Achieves, we brought a new pilot program called Summer Bridge. And so thinking about the numbers for Summer Bridge, we had 28 participants the first year of the program, and we've now served over 4,000 students under the summer programs umbrella. But Summer Bridge, 3-week academic boot camp designed specifically for students who require remediation. When we launched the program, 80% of students required remediation across the state. That is now dropped to the low 60s, but there's still much work to be done. And we want to make sure our students have a successful start. When we launched Summer Bridge, we found that some students needed more support. And so we did create a pilot program called Summer Institute, designed to help students in the Memphis core. It is a much more intensive program. It's credit bearing. So students actually take their remediation class alongside their college level class over 10 weeks in the summer. And that program has been an overwhelming success. I will tell you this year, it had a 100% success rate, which still kind of blows my mind, but 100% of the participants completely eliminated their remediation need and now have 9 credit hours starting for their fall semester. So again, game changing and something we're hoping to begin spreading across the state. And we also this year created a homegrown online summer bridge program for students who didn't feel quite safe going onto campus. And that program saw a significant amount of success. And all these programs combined have an 88% success rate, with students either testing out of remediation or dramatically improving their test scores. Most importantly to me, we pre-survey our students, and this year 15% told us that they felt confident about college in the fall. And after the program's completion, that jumped to 97% feeling confident about the fall. So it is an academic program, but there is definitely the social emotional piece as well, which we find to be incredibly important. We also, several years ago, lifted up a proactive coaching model. This currently applies to the most economically disadvantaged students in a community. Students receive a dedicated Tennessee Achieves coach who will walk alongside them and truly eliminate the non-academic barriers that keep our students from earning a college credential. And that program has been an overwhelming success. And then finally, I think much of the work could not be possible, especially at the 90,000 student scale at which we work, without providing that targeted student communication. We've now even stepped more intentionally into that space where we're talking to students who have not completed a college application or have not registered for classes. And in light of COVID, both of those information points have been game changers for how we're able to communicate with students and families. So just thinking through our reach, 90 counties, 74 considered rural, 35 considered at risk or distressed. And we work with 601 high schools. 67 colleges fall under the Tennessee Promise umbrella. And you can see here, 79% of our students are headed to their community college, the overwhelming majority going to the college in their backyard. 11% enrolled at the Tennessee College of Applied Technology, or TCAT. And then the final 10% of our students taking advantage of the 4-year college option for those institutions offering associate degree programs. No surprise here, but the overwhelming majority of your students going over to Roane State. So as I said, we serve 90,000 students total, 60,000 of which are new high school seniors every year. It's, again, sort of hard for me to believe, but 89% of high school seniors come through our program every year and are touched by Tennessee Achieves in some way. We also make up 78% of first-time, full-time freshmen at our state's 13 community colleges. And excitingly, 86% of its graduates. 56% of our students are considered economically disadvantaged as measured by Pell, and 40% identify as the first in their family to go to college. I recently presented to the National Science Board, and they asked us to pull a number on students who were majoring in health-related or STEM fields. And I was actually quite surprised by the fact that 51% of students fall into that category. Probably no surprise to those of you in Roane County with your very robust allied health programs coming from Roane State. But 27% of that 51% are actually majoring in health-related fields, which makes our workforce partners incredibly happy considering the nursing shortage our state faces. And finally, $32 million being spent every year on student scholarships, and Tennessee Achieves raises an additional $2.5 million for operating costs. All right, so to jump into some very specific Roane County numbers, you can see here one major hurdle for students across our country is the completion of the free application for federal student aid, or the FAFSA. Roane County has a 79% FAFSA completion rate. To benchmark, although below the statewide average of 86%, most states don't hit 50%. And so the fact that Tennessee continues to lead the country in this space, I think, is truly remarkable, and a huge testament to the work of our K-12 counselors and leadership. And just quite frankly, the fact that everyone pulls in the same direction during FAFSA file season. I wish we did that for all initiatives under that transition umbrella, but really thrilled and continue to be thrilled with these FAFSA completion numbers. Randy Boyd, the chairman of our board, says that tnAchieves is the largest community service organization in the state, considering our students have given back nearly 3.4 million hours in community service. I don't know if that's actually true, but no one's told me otherwise. So we're running with the accolade until I hear otherwise. But you can see, since we launched in Roane County, nearly 33,000 hours given back in one community alone. So a lot of really great work being done in our communities. Okay, so walking you through some more Roane County specific numbers, I think it's incredibly important to ground us in the fact that Roane County always has a really strong percentage of high school seniors applying to Tennessee Promise. Back when we were running meetings pre-COVID, the cafeterias were jammed and often very sweaty, with eager students and families and their mentors coming to hear more about the program. So really thrilled with the fact that there is a strong culture around, even this, if this is your plan B, this is still a really great option for you. Students enrolled with Tennessee Promise 210. This does not take into account the student who would go to Tennessee Tech or the University of Tennessee. Those fall outside of the Tennessee Promise eligibility umbrella, but I wanted you to see your exact number of students who did make the transition to a Promise eligible institution. You can also see your first year retention rate and your 3-year graduation rate blowing the state numbers out of the water, right? So we're seeing 67 and 35% respectively at the state level, where your first year retention and 3-year graduation rates are much higher than that. Post-secondary leadership, a lot of work that has been done in that community to help students understand the value proposition around earning a college degree. So huge accolades to Roane County for all your work in this space. To zoom out again from a statewide level, if you take your 71 and you benchmark it against students who leave high school and begin college in the fall, and if they return the following fall, so that first year retention is 53%. So again, you think of 71% versus 53%. The students who are in Roane County and under the tnAchieves umbrella are doing quite well against their peers. You can also see here 6-year graduation rate, which we will have for your first cohort of Tennessee Promise students next year. But at a statewide level, tnAchieves has a 51% graduation rate versus students not participating in our program at 35%. And then just to run you through our suite of programs, the summer programs that I discussed created a 34% increase in our first year retention. That complete the college coaching model has increased first year retention by 23%. And then Knox Promise, which thanks to the Haslam Family Foundation, we were able to create and implement several years ago. It provides a coach, a dedicated coach to every student in Knox County, regardless of income. So we have 5 coaches to work with students in Knox County. And students also have access to what we refer to as completion grant dollars, which oftentimes in higher ed is referred to as emergency aid. But those students who are under the Knox Promise umbrella have a 78% retention rate. So we're really seeing some great progress with this group of students and are hoping to replicate this model across the state. So if there's anything I feel like we do well at tnAchieves, it's incubate, great proof points, and then we go to the state and say, like, look at how much we were able to make a dent in the student success universe. So help us by supporting us to take this statewide. So this is my sombering slide, which I think for me is less sombering and more of a call to action. But you can see here, Roane State was not affected quite the same way that the state was. In fact, you saw a significant jump in your county's college going rate. And I'd love to hear any thoughts about what exactly happened and what you felt like make an impact? Knox County, where I live, also saw an increase, but there were very few counties that saw an increase. You can see here all the progress that was made that first year of Tennessee Promise in 2015. We lost at the statewide level this year due to COVID. But again, Roane County still like really setting some records in terms of going against trend, which I think is the way exactly where you would want to be in this space. And then considering that we continue to feel like even at 63% more work is to be done to ensure that every student who wants to earn a college degree has all the support necessary. We are recruiting mentors for the class of 2022. No surprise to Alan, who's been our chief mentor recruiter in Roane County for many years now. The role will stay the same for the 2022 cohort, still providing the encouragement, continuing to be a resource, and then making sure students are meeting critical milestones. The delivery this year will look a little different. First, for those of you who do not mentor, we did invest a lot of time and resource into creating tnAchieves Connect. It's an online platform where all student information is housed, and you can also video chat or communicate with your students all in one space. We've heard rave reviews from our mentors thus far, and will continue to offer this platform to our mentors in 2022. We also are looking to begin a series of open houses where students and mentors can connect at the post-secondary institution rather than the high school this year. The idea being that we want to increase the excitement around college by offering some insight into college for our students and allow mentors and students to continue to meet in a meaningful way. And then third, we're going to continue to, but in a much stronger way, encourage students and mentors to meet more one-on-one. Our mentors have been doing this for years and years, but we don't often talk about that in terms of ensuring that this is happening across the state. And so, you know, don't put them in the car and make sure it's in public. This is still a really great way for mentors and students to connect. So December 3rd, application is open now, closes on December 3rd. We need 72 mentors in Roane County. We always get there, but it's because a lot of people put in a lot of time and effort, and we're thrilled to continue to offer this program to students. So for me, next steps, if you're thinking about like, how can you be involved, become a mentor, share the mentor story with your friends and your family, with your colleagues and coworkers. Also talk about what's happening in the education space. I think transparency is so important right now in light of COVID and learning loss and all the things that are happening across the state. And so we're happy to come and share the story with anyone who I feel like this program has been successful because we always say yes if the door is open, and that continues to be true even now. And then finally, the Tennessee Promise application is open for students. It opened on August 1 and will close on November 1st. And so we're thrilled to be, again, we just enrolled a cohort yesterday into college, and now we're already thinking about class of 22. So the work is truly never ending. This is my contact information. I will tell you, I've been here 13 years. It's hard to wrap my brain around. I started when I was 13, just for the record. I wish. But I love this work so much. And I'm so thankful to communities like the Roane County community that opened its doors and embraced the work that we were trying to do, and continues to be such a great partner now. So I'm going to stop sharing and open the floor to any thoughts, any questions, anything that's on anyone's mind. We always love feedback at tnAchieves.
This is Dana Paterka. Tamsin, do you want to talk a little bit about the new development about registering as a freshman at Roane State and at the same time being registered at Tennessee Tech?
Oh gosh, I'm not the expert on that, so I don't know if I can give you all the information that you're wanting. But it is something that's brand new that started just this past fall, and it's where any student, if they do know that they want to go to Tennessee Tech once they leave Roane State, when they just need to let us know when they register for Roane State in the fall, and there's when they're assigned their success coach, the success coach will help talk them through this. But when they sign up and put in their transcripts and their application for Roane State, all of that carries over automatically to Tennessee Tech. So they don't have to do a second application for Tennessee Tech. It's a one and done kind of process. So we're really excited about that.
I love that. I feel like transfer is the new, it term in higher ed. We're actually lifting up a transfer pilot this year. We have secured some funds to work with about 1,000 students to try to really dig into the transfer space.
Yes.
Again, creating a proof point, right?
Yes.
So I think that's really great news. Fantastic.
It will really help out the students quite a bit, because most of these students do know where they want to go when they leave Roane State. So why not just sort of help smooth the process over and not lose them because of some small hiccup?
I completely agree. Do you know that we ask the students every freshman first semester, we ask all the students who enroll their intentions around transfer. And every year it's in the high 60s. This past year it's 67%. And about 25% actually transfer. So there's a huge disconnect, right? And so
Yes.
some gap that we're really hoping to fill. So again, Roane State always leading the way in terms of innovation. I think that's great.
Let me mention one other thing too. I just want to say thank you for that Connect program that you guys did. That was amazing. I have been a mentor for a number of years, and kids just don't respond to emails. They didn't respond to my text. I don't care how much you sent. A text is an awful lot of information to put into a text. But Connect, I had more responses from my students this year than I had ever in any year prior to. It was just really seamless and easy for them. And when a message came through, it dinged on my phone and in my email, and I was able to get to it right away. And honestly, I had the most personal contact with my mentees that I've ever had in all the years that I've done this. So kudos to whoever designed it. They did a really good job with it.
Thank you. I love hearing that. And we've heard that so many times. So I'm so glad that we were able to make it happen. So, and thank you for continuing to mentor. I appreciate that very much. Any other questions or comments, feedback?
I've got one, Alan, here. Sometimes there's always a question I don't ask you if you don't want to know the answer, but nobody ever said I wasn't competitive. The slide that had student progress, it has Roane County 3-year graduation rate 45%, and then statewide 35%. I'm assuming that statewide is not Tennessee Achieves statewide, but statewide non-Tennessee Achieves students at the total. Is that correct?
No, the 35% is actually the 3-year graduation rate for Tennessee Achieves students. The statewide 3-year graduation rate is 25%, so 10 percentage points behind at 35%. And then we jump, Alan, from 35 to 51 with 6-year graduation, and that captures all those transfer students or students who are in programs that are longer than 3 years.
Okay. Well, maybe our continued connections are helping then. Yeah, and referring to the Connect, I've had some of the better quality conversations during the time frame with the Connect, even to the point of with one student having to take him step by step because each time, how about this status now? Then you get back, I've done that. How about the next one? oh, I've done that now that you've mentioned it. And it can be real frustrating, but at least we're getting response.
Well, I mean, you think about, for those of you who've been mentoring with us, like Alan, for a while, you think about where we were like 5 years ago, where we didn't know any of these things about students, where they were, and we weren't able to communicate any of those milestones in a student-specific way, right? We knew they needed to do all these things, but we couldn't really tell you exactly where they were. And so I love the fact that, number one, we have this data to share with mentors, and number two, we now have a platform where you can see it, like within a 24-hour period of time, it's being updated. So we've come a long way, Alan.
Yeah, I liked it. Like it very much.
Great.
Thank you.
Krissy, this is Dana Paterka again. In your remarks, you talked about non-academic level walk along for people in poverty. Could you expand on that, please? And for background, Rockwood area and the Harriman area in western Roane County has a level of poverty, household poverty, and working poor poverty of 54%, the same level as the city of Memphis. So we have a lot of issues on this end of the county.
Absolutely. And thank you for that question, Dana. Good to hear your voice. It's so we serve about 14% of students under this college coaching initiative called Complete. We're working to get more funding to actually, it's heavy on human capital. So we have to recruit and train coaches. The majority of our coaches, which is my favorite thing, are Tennessee Promise students. So they started at a community college, transferred to a four-year institution, earned their bachelor's degree, and then oftentimes we are actually their first like professional job. And so the reason I love that is students find a lot of relatability in our coaches. The coaches understand where the students are coming from, but there's an entire model that we've built. And so the coaches are responsible for connecting with their students at a 70% connection rate every month. And it's almost like a social work caseload. So they're assigned a coach, and that coach follows them from Tennessee Promise application all the way through a terminating event. So ideally, the terminating event would be earning a college credential. And so we're tracking all that in Salesforce. So the coach is logging all this information. So if I'm Dana's coach, I learned something new, at least one thing new about Dana every time we interact. And I go back to that well so that when I'm seeking to interact with Dana again, it's not a cold call. This is someone that the student is very familiar with. We also secured some funding from the state to do some completion grant work. We pushed it out. You guys are the first to hear this. We pushed out, hey, we have additional aid for books, transportation, food insecurity. We pushed it out yesterday. We have $218,000 the state gave us to do this work. We set up all the infrastructure. The coaches, they have to work with their coach in order to access the funds. We pushed it out yesterday at 2:30 Eastern time. And as of 8:15 this morning, we had $320,000 worth of requests. We didn't text it. We didn't send it to parents. It was meant to be like a gentle nudge via email, and have already had all this response. So all that to say, Dana, we believe that, I understand Roane State has this great success coach model. We are trying to work alongside that model to really, again, address the non-academic side of this. I can't tell you, we've been doing this work in Knox County now for 3 years. Connecting students who are homeless, connecting students who during the pandemic were having their utilities cut off. So it's been a lot of, again, sort of, it feels a lot like social work, but we're excited to dig deeper into this space and hoping to expand the model.
While the coaches are doing their connections, you still have the mentors doing the same thing?
So the coaching doesn't really kick in, Alan, like deep dive kick in until the second week of September when they've enrolled in college. So we're really leaning on mentors to do all the transition stuff, right? To get them there. And so once they land there, the handoff really happens. And again, this is not for every student. This is only for our lowest income students. They start doing that deep dive relational work with the students like second week of September, around 14th day, around Census Day. Great question. Well, as always, I wish I was in Roane County, not too far down the road, right? My son actually was at camp, Boy Scout camp in Roane County. So I drove right through the county to take him and pick him up this summer. But I'm always thankful to all of you and your leadership in this space. Looking at your numbers, you're certainly getting something right there, a lot of things right, but we're happy to partner and continue to think about how we can increase those numbers even more. So always here, always available, always a friend. So please let me know if you have additional questions. And I appreciate your time.
Thank
Happy
you.
Tuesday. Thank you all.
Thank you.